Hey guys, Alessio, hope you're well. In this video, I want to give you an update on the whole kiss of death situation with relation to the stock markets. And by the way, in case you're wondering, why am I talking about the stock markets? Why not Bitcoin and crypto? Because as I'm sure you're aware, often what happens to the major markets, the stock markets, has an impact also on Bitcoin as well. So it's really important to pay attention to what's happening on the chart of the stock markets and not just Bitcoin. So guys, in this video, I want to revisit the whole kiss of death signal that we received some months ago. And could it actually re-trigger? Could it trigger again potentially in the next few weeks or in the next few months as we head into the year 2023? And also, if the kiss of death does trigger again for a second time, what does it mean for the markets and the economy? Are we about to collapse into a major bear market? So let's talk about that. Join me. All right, guys, welcome back. So as I'm sure you probably have guessed, I'm not in London. I'm not in the UK anymore. I just flew to Florida a few days ago. And by the way, let me just say, London was absolutely freezing cold when I left. You probably know there's a cold spell in Europe and mostly in the UK as well. Freezing conditions. And guys, let me tell you, I came to Florida expecting nice, warm weather. And instead, as you can see, I've got cold and cloudy today. Apparently this winter, this particular year, is going to be the coldest for Florida, especially in the region I am, which is the Palm Coast region of Florida. Anyway, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the whole major markets. And by the way, let me just say before we begin that I want to wish you a fantastic Christmas. I hope you and your family have a wonderful holiday as we head into Christmas. And I want to talk to you a little bit, well, rather depressing stuff, unfortunately, about the whole markets and the potential kiss of death signal and all that. Many of you have actually asked me, hey, Alessio, can you do another video talking about the whole kiss of death signal? Is it still intact? Is it still there? Could it trigger again? And what does it mean? Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about that. And also, guys, if it gets a little bit windy in this video, I do apologize. It is a bit windy out there, so I can't help it, unfortunately. All right, guys, let's go back to the markets. So as I explained at the start of this video, it is really important to pay attention to what's happening to the stock markets, the Dow and the S&P. But I think the chart, the S&P, is the most important because, again, what happens often on the stock markets has an impact also across the board on other markets like Bitcoin and crypto as well. So really what I want to talk about is the kiss of death signal. Now, for those of you who haven't seen my video on the kiss of death, go ahead and watch it. I don't want to go into the whole detail about what that signal is. For those of you who haven't seen my video on the kiss of death, here's a very quick summary of what that signal is. Essentially, it's when the stock market from all-time highs drops below its monthly 21 EMA, then pulls back to the 21 monthly average, and then drops again below the lows, below the previous lows. That triggers what is called a kiss of death signal, which, by the way, is by far the strongest, one of the most dangerous signals in all of technical analysis, because in the past, when the kiss of death has occurred after all-time highs, this has often resulted in major long-term bear markets like the one in 2008, where the market dropped by 50% from its highs. Same thing happened at dot-com crash in the year 2000 and 2001, 2002, which also resulted in a significant bear market of 50% drop from its all-time highs. The same thing happened, by the way, in the 1973 bear market. Same thing happened in previous bear markets of 1969, even the Great Depression, the 1929 to 1932 bear market. That was also triggered by a kiss of death signal. Now, let me just make sure I mentioned this at the start, that I'm not trying to say to you that just because we had a kiss of death signal, which occurred at the end of September, at the start of October of this year, 2022, I'm not saying just because we have a kiss of death signal that we're going to have the exact same situation like the year 2008 and the 2000 and the 1929 bear markets. Again, we have to remember that markets are uncertain, they're probabilistic, so nothing is set in stone, nothing is for certain. This is only a probability, and it needs further confirmation. All right, guys, before I continue, by the way, let me just show you what's in front of me. Let me just turn this in this way. Just very beautiful scenery here in front of me as I'm walking in this section of Florida. So before we dig deep into the charts, let me first of all remind you of what I said very quickly back in September, beginning, I think it was at the end of September, beginning of October of this year. I said at the time that after a kiss of death occurs, usually something very interesting happens for the next couple of months. Here's a very short clip of what I said, and we'll come back. In the year 2008, yes, we had a kiss of death, okay, but look what happened immediately afterwards, or soon afterwards. At this point, the stock market triggered the kiss of death, okay, on this bar, but look what happened in the next couple of months. Notice that in the next couple of months after a kiss of death,
we actually had a bounce, a strong bounce here. I know it doesn't look very strong here on this monthly chart, but it was quite a bounce, as you can see here. Okay, so the market rallied for at least a couple of months here in the year 2008 before then resuming the bear market. Okay, let's go back to the year 2000. Same thing happened that year. In that year, after we had the kiss of death, as you can see here, it triggered on this bar. Then notice after some more downside pressure, look what happened afterwards. Then for at least a couple of months, notice that we had a bounce, a very strong rally before then continuing the bear market lower. By the way, my calculations show the average period for a potential bounce after a kiss of death is about 2 months. So about a 2-month period for some kind of a bounce or a pullback or a rally. The stock markets have a habit of rallying or being quite strongly positive from October to December.
All right, guys, welcome back. So as you heard in that video, again, which I made at the end of September, at the very beginning of October, I said that very likely we could see a rally, some kind of a counter trend rally for the next couple of months, especially as we head towards December, which, by the way, is exactly what's happened so far, as you've probably seen for yourself. Here's the monthly chart of the S&P. You can see we had a couple of month movement to the upside, some kind of a rally, a bounce in the stock markets. Again, from the end of September, start of October to December. By the way, you can see this bounce also now on this daily chart of the S&P here as well. So we are, I would say, right now in a very critical, very important situation here on the stock markets. And the reason why it's critical is because in the past, okay, as I explained to you a few minutes ago, in the past, usually after a kiss of death, there's a bounce for a couple of months, usually for 2 to 3 months, and then the kiss of death essentially re-triggers. In other words, the market then rolls over and then takes out the previous lows again and continues the bear market significantly lower. So I think what this means is this, guys. We are now in a situation where the market, the stock market, has to make a decision. Look, we've had the kiss of death signal. That was triggered at the end of September, beginning of October. We had the bounce, which we expected, a couple of month rally or bounce in the markets. And now the market has to make a decision. The decision is, does it want to collapse and re-trigger the kiss of death, and in other words, push us into a long-term bear market? The kind of bear market which, again, we dread, or maybe you like, depending on your perspective. Some people love bear markets. As they say, the markets take the staircase up, but they take the elevator to the downside. That's kind of true as well. But here's the thing, here's my point. Look, if the market truly wants to re-trigger the kiss of death and fall into a bear market, then it needs to decide very soon. By the way, you will notice the market, the stock market, the S&P, has already dropped by just over 3% from its recent highs we made back only a month ago. So basically, I think it's a make or break moment for the stock market. In other words, if we're about to re-trigger the kiss of death and fall into a bear market, then the stock market has to make a decision very quickly and see what it wants to do. Because, by the way, remember, as I mentioned at the start of this video, it doesn't have to do that. It doesn't have to do anything we want. Often people think that the market has to do whatever the analyst thinks it's going to do. No, the market does not have to do anything we expect it to do. Okay, that's why there's an element of uncertainty, risk. And remember, guys, the markets are chaotic systems, and that means the markets are unpredictable. So that's why we need to try and keep an open mind as much as possible. We have to keep our ego in check. We cannot tell the market what to do. The market tells us what it wants to do. That's the difference between my analysis and other people's. You see a lot of these analysts or so-called analysts on YouTube trying to dictate to the market what it has to do. Oh, the market has to do this. No, it doesn't. And I try my best to tell you what I think is the most likely, the most probable scenario or outlook for the market. So here's the first thing I want to say. I have my doubts at the moment as to whether this is the moment that the market is going to collapse again into a significant bear market and re-trigger the kiss of death. The reason why I have my doubts is some months ago I published a video you probably saw, and I mentioned the 5 warning signs that I'm looking for. You probably saw that video, and 2 of those warning signs did not happen. Okay, so remember, I was waiting to see if we get the 5 warning signs before the kiss of death gets re-triggered and becomes reconfirmed. Unfortunately, in the last few months, 2 of those important signals did not trigger. One of them was a move into resistance. So I was looking for a rally, a bounce, a strong bounce into certain resistance levels. Those important levels of resistance were not breached. In other words, the market did not rally hard enough to move into the resistance levels I was watching. That's the first thing. Now you might think maybe that's not so important. fair enough. But again, it's one of the most important criteria and rules. And again, I stick to my rules when I'm doing analysis. All I'm saying is I'm a bit surprised. I'm actually a bit disappointed the market did not move hard enough into my resistance levels. That's the first thing, and it's important to keep it in mind. The second thing is this: the stock market has not yet broken support. So my fifth criteria in that video was the market has to break support to reconfirm the kiss of death. The market has not done that either. So two of those important criteria have not been met. The market did not move strongly into the levels of resistance I was looking for. The second thing is the market has not, the S&P in any case, has not broken support. And there's an important support level I'm watching. I would say this, I would say if the stock market, if the S&P, and it's an if by the way, if the S&P takes out its October lows, okay, or even the September lows, if it falls below the September, October lows, then yeah, that would re-trigger or reconfirm the kiss of death, okay? That has not happened. And again, at the moment, I have my doubts about that. There are certain things that have not lined up totally with the markets, which again, makes me doubt whether this is the moment that we're gonna fall back into a bear market and reconfirm the kiss of death. But again, remember guys, I could be wrong. If the market does fall below its October lows, if it does take out the September, October lows again, then fine. I would change my mind and I would say yes, if that happens, and it's an if, but if that were to happen, then yes, that would reconfirm and re-trigger the kiss of death. By the way, that would not be just a kiss of death anymore. That would be what I would call the sinking into a black hole signal. Because if the kiss of death gets reconfirmed, if it happens again, then that actually could mean we're beginning the start of a major long-term bear market. Again, significantly lower levels, potentially at least a 50% drop from the all-time highs, if not more, okay? So remember guys, that has not happened yet. It's something we have to be patient and see if it happens at all. All I'm saying in this video is this, that two important criteria that I've been waiting for patiently to increase the probability of another kiss of death, of a significant bear market drop, have not yet happened. Also, one more thing, guys, keep your eye on the Dow Transportation Index. Often the Dow Transportation Index can be a leading indicator for the stock markets and the economy. So keep your eye on the chart of the Dow Transportation. If the Dow Transportation takes out its October lows, and again, I'm not saying it will, but if it does, in other words, sometimes the Dow Transportation can move faster and ahead of the other major markets. What I'm saying is if the Dow Transportation falls below its October lows, that can also be an early clue, an early sign that something is not quite right with the major markets. So keep your eye on that one as well. But what I would say now is this, that at the moment it's a time to be patient. So far, we don't have everything lined up. So not everything has been confirmed for a re-triggering or reconfirmation of the kiss of death, okay? So until the odds increase for the kiss of death to be re-triggered, or let's call it the sinking into a black hole signal to be re-triggered or reconfirmed, which has not happened, let's just be patient, okay? I think the best thing to do is be patient. One more thing to mention here as well is that we are now in the second half, the later stages of December, and usually as we get towards the end of December, there's something called a Santa Claus rally or a Christmas rally, and this is usually a very strong period seasonally for the markets. If you look at statistically the markets, usually as we get closer to the Christmas period, there seems to be more bullishness, as you can see here from this data. The market seems to get more bullish, and often there's a bounce or a rally as we get towards the final weeks of December. And that's why it's called the Christmas rally or the Santa Claus rally. So let's wait and see what happens after this period. And I want to see what happens as we get towards the new year, January as well. So basically what I'm saying here, guys, is let's be patient, because not everything has lined up in favor of a reconfirmation or re-triggering of a kiss of death. And I think we'll find out what the market decides in the next few weeks as we head towards the new year in January. So I think that's the safest approach. Thank you very much. And again, I want to wish you a fantastic holiday and happy Christmas. Cheers, guys, from Florida. See you guys soon.